It is the Martha Zoller Show, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who is also the highest ranking elected Jewish official in America, is giving a speech today. And we're not going to comment on it because it's going on right now, and I'm only hearing bits and pieces of it. I want to sit down tonight and watch the whole thing so that we can be sure we'll talk about it tomorrow. So it should be interesting to see how he's trying to appease the part of his party that doesn't want Israel to exist. He's in a really tough place on this particular situation. But this week, we do know now who the nominees of the major parties are going to be. While they won't be actually nominated until their conventions, we now are in the longest general election cycle that we have ever had in America. And so I wanted to talk to Roger Gewolb about a couple of things today. And I know he's commented on this, and he's met the former president before and been to Mar-a-Lago, and wanted to talk a little bit about uniting the Republican Party, because you guys do a little bit of that in your own country where you've got to put these coalitions together. We've pretty much been a two-party system, but there's roughly 30% of primary voters that have voted for other candidates, mostly Nikki Haley, but other candidates. And what's your advice on how people need to be brought together in the Republican Party?
Hi, Martha. That's a really tough question. I think the divisions are so strong and so deep that it's not easily solved. People are divided over, as Bill Clinton said long ago, it's the economy, stupid. They're also divided over immigration, folks just pouring through the border still. They're divided over crime, convention in Chicago, which is just an absolute mess. Always goes to the Democrats. They get 90% of the black vote. At the moment, they're apparently on 60%. The black Americans in Chicago are so fed up with the immigration situation. Same thing mirrors itself with the divisions over immigration to a certain extent in the Republicans. So immigration, economy, money for Ukraine, Middle East, Israel, American troops and Houthis. I mean, just everybody's got an opinion, and the new societal mode is to, really get very angry with people who don't agree with you. So I don't know how they're going to heal the rifts and find unity the way that, to a certain extent, the Israelis have after October the 7th out of necessity. Certainly wouldn't want any kind of tragedy to happen. And short of that, I just don't see it happening in the few months to the election and to the conventions and the election very easily.
Yeah, and I think it is a communication thing. And one of my colleagues, Hugh Hewitt, put out a good piece today where he said that if you remember back to 2016, one of the big things that tipped the scale in Donald Trump's favor was the fact he released this list of potential Supreme Court justices that he would pull from if he had to make a Supreme Court pick. And for a lot of people that thought that he didn't have the chops to be president, it was the turning point, because it showed he was very thoughtful, that he thought about one of the most important jobs that presidents have. And it really, when you did exit polling, it was one of the things that changed a lot of people's minds. So what Hugh Hewitt is suggesting is that he needs to go ahead and tell people who his vice president's going to be. He needs to go ahead and tell people that maybe not which person's going to go in each cabinet position, but the group of people that he's going to be picking from, so that people can see that they're solid, top-notch folks that can get the job done. Because the benefit that Donald Trump has, quite frankly, is that he can hit the ground running. He's not your traditional guy that's challenging an incumbent, because he's done the job before.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that would be a very good move for him to make, to name at least a few people and bring some clarity to the situation. that certainly would help unite people around him who are going to support him. The thing, the State of the Union was so divisive. It was a campaign speech. Joe Biden just keeps cooking his goose. I just can't understand how the Democrats can run him. Apart from the frailty and cerebral issues, whatever they might be, in fact, it's just so divisive. He was this rematch, if indeed it happens, is going to be quite different than the last one. The last one, he was the great unifier. He was going to bring everyone together. In fact, having his strings pulled by the Sanders-Obama, that sort of group, he's just turned out to be incredibly left and very divisive, and all the shouting and screaming in the State of the Union, it's got to be a shoo-in for the Donald, frankly, because, who's going to vote for this guy? And what's amazing is they've got no one else. Now, all that in itself should make all the Republicans very happy, and they should look forward to a hoped-for victory. But as I say, the divisions are just so deep over these issues, starting with, the Palestine thing and more money for Ukraine. And it's very hard, Martha. You can make a great argument why, if you don't give that money to Ukraine, Putin is going to do a Hitler on Europe and just take everything over, and, who knows who's next. And with the axis of him and China and Iran and North Korea, Lord knows what we're facing.
Well, and they're doing naval exercises in the Middle East this week, those four countries. Yeah. And so it's a real problem. And you're right. We usually get out of these kind of cycles with some horrible thing happening. And we don't want that.
The other side of the coin.
Yeah.
The other side of the coin, the other side of the argument is, God, look at these people starving. Look at how Americans are having to live. Look at the cost of living crisis. Look, who gives a darn what's happening, thousands of miles away? Look what's happening to Chicago, my hometown. What a mess. They're going to try. I heard somebody say they're going to try to stop the homicides for the convention. My God, it's just.
Well, and it is something where it seems to me very logical that you got to take care of your own backyard before you can go and fix anybody else's. And
really, unless you got four terrifying nations,
yes,
that are going to be on your doorstep controlling you a year from now.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying things have got to go. What makes a lot of people mad is that you have Joe Biden and others talking about other countries' borders, but they don't want to talk about our borders. And so
I know.
It's a problem. But I want to shift gears a little bit to something a little bit lighter, I guess, because you live in England, and there's this controversy about this picture that the Princess of Wales released on Sunday. And I guess I don't understand the hoopla because, picture editing for portraits especially has been going on forever. You and I are people that go and get our headshot taken every now and then. And believe me, I tell the guy to make me look 10 years younger. Okay. I don't want it to look like me. I want it to look good. So, why is this such an issue where you've got a lot of people saying you can't trust the monarchy because they released this edited picture of the family?
This is just nuts. This is insane. There are a lot of people saying, well, we can never trust these people. How ridiculous. What you say about touching up and photoshopping is absolutely true. And I just don't understand the ruckus. The sleeve of the kid is a blah, blah. She's not wearing her wedding ring and her engagement ring. That means that they're, like Harry and Meghan. This just goes on, and people have got nothing better to talk about. Who gives a darn, It's just they're making
See,
such a thing out of it.
that's your American sensibilities there, because it is, to me, it was just a picture that she tried to release, a nice picture on Mother's Day, and I don't know about over where you are, but over where we are, all you do is see ads pop up on your feed for these new phones that you can you can make your pictures look any way you want them to do. I remember
you can take a picture and take Martha Zoller out
that's
the
right.
dining room table and the rest of the family. Yeah.
And it's funny,
Yeah.
I've told this story before. Cindy Crawford did an interview back at the height of her career after she was in the swimsuit edition. So this would have been in the early 90s. And she was talking about how they had to airbrush her thighs. And I remember thinking to myself, if Cindy Crawford has got to have her thighs airbrushed, then there is no hope for a regular girl like me. And so this, this kind of thing has been done forever and ever and ever. To think that people don't want to look as good as they can look in photos is just ridiculous.
Now, I think it's more that we don't really know what was wrong with her.
Right.
We don't really know what's still wrong with her, if anything. We don't know why we're not seeing and hearing more about her, whereas Charles was so open, although we don't really know what's wrong with him. They say it's pancreatic cancer, which is horrible, but hasn't been confirmed. I think the photo complaining is really just a symptom of the dissatisfaction with the public, those people who are interested, that they want to know more about lovely Kate, and they're not getting it.
Right. Because she is very, very popular, and people feel like they know her, they like her, they feel like she's one of them, right? And she crosses that line, doesn't she, between being royal and being like a regular person. And so...
Well, it's easy to fall out with the media and the public. I mean, I can remember how thrilled every single Briton seemed to be with Meghan joining the royal family, a person of color. I mean, everybody was so excited here. It was so wonderful that we're so liberal and so blah, 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 blah. And I can remember getting calls from friends in India the night that Rishi Sunak was made the first British Asian prime minister, and they were talking about the Indian Raj. I mean, there was the British Raj when Britain ran India, and now the Indians back in Delhi were all saying, hey, it's the Indian Raj, we're running Britain. And everybody loved it. And I mean, they've both been such a disappointment. And it's very easy to fall out of favor. So I think that Kate has fallen out of favor a bit by allowing herself or being made, whatever, to shroud herself in a bit of mystery about this illness, which, of course, is her own private business. I mean, there's nobody entitled to know. She doesn't want to talk about it. But, the media's, especially the British media, is pretty cruel sometimes if they want to be. And I think that's what's going on. I don't know how it will resolve itself. People are sick and tired of the Harry and Meghan thing. So, they don't want any, and Andrew, and they just don't want any more aggro, as we call it here, aggravation from the royals.
So we're talking to Roger Gewolb. We get together with him every couple of weeks, and we love getting his perspective on things. Also, I'm going to be in England in September, and so I will come by and see you.
I will alert the media.
That's right. Absolutely.